to this class. I am teaching on the Sefiroth, the tree of life, the foundational Kabbalistic understanding of how our whole understanding of Yahweh is presented to us in the text. So today what I'm going to do, and this is really is a survey class. The depth of, like I've said, of the Zohar, of the Kabbalah is so deep, you can't really disseminate it in quick little teaching sound bites. It's a lifetime of learning. But my goal is to open up people's understanding to the code words, the keywords, the way knowledge has been, again, knowledge has been encrypted, encoded into the text. So as you start to explore and read, it'll be much faster. I think you'll get up to speed way faster, let's say, than it took me to get to the keys to the kingdom, to understand how to lock these mysteries. It'll go a lot quicker. So before we really delve into the Sefiroth and we have to understand how. Okay, so every word, every concept, every theology, even every letter is polysemous. There's many levels of meaning, all right? One of the main, and I talked about archetypes. I'm going to try to teach the foundational archetypes for these different words, what they mean. Let's say the Sefiroth. Before I get to the, taking each Sefiroth one by one and really unpacking it, there's a concept about the Sefiroth that needs to be understood, in my opinion. It's how, one of the ways the Sefiroth is referred to as garments, all right? There's so many different, it's mansions, Yeshua says, in my Father's kingdom are many mansions, all right? But another way also is garments. So I want to begin to flush that out, because that's an important understanding of how to understand the theology of the Sefiroth, okay? So I'm going to try to do the original motif archetype on a very deeply spiritual level, a Sefirithic level, okay? Not to say that there's not the literal level we put on garments, everybody, and that it's not used in literal senses. Well, let me do this first. This is my object lesson. I'm a visual person. So I came upon, this is my little trademark. These are my little Sefirithic, these are my little toys of the different worlds. The way the Sefiroth works, all right, because at the very top, beyond all the Sefiroth, beyond the tree of life actually is what is Hebraically called En Sof, is our omnipotent, omnipresent, no beginning, no end, Yahweh, who is beyond all, anything created. He's outside of his creation. That's known as, and that's a huge, we'll cover that as we cover the Sefiroth. That's En Sof, all right? Now, but the way it works, there is sort of there's a mechanism in place, all right, that Yahweh did, where he encloses, all right? So he takes, and so like I said, if you understand this principle, then you can understand how to always put the square box in the next square hole. Now, you're not trying to put a round one in a square, so it doesn't fit, all right? Archetypes are always supposed to fit. They fit one against in the other, always, perfectly, never any problem, all right? So if we take this, let's say, as Keter, this is the highest Sefiroth, the crown, like an archetype, the crown that's on our head, all right? The first, let's say, wave of, the first breath, the first thought, thought that Yahweh ever had of his whole creation and of us, right? That gets, in the word, is enclosed. It's just like a garment. When I put on, all right, there's layers to garments, all right? The closest, your undergarments actually are the closest and the most hidden, because again, garments and the whole concept, you wear to the outer garment. You dress from inner garments into outer garments, and the inner garments are the most hidden. All right, so that's a good principle to understand. So Yahweh in his is the most hidden, because fundamentally Yahweh says that no man can see Yahweh at any time and live. What he's saying is, in the fullness, if any of us were to come into the absolute full presence of Elohim, where he had like no clothes on for, let's just say he's not clothed in anything, we would blow up. Our atoms in our present omnipresent physicality, we could not, there's no way. All right, he's too powerful. So what Yahweh does, and this has been the whole process, is he encloses himself, finally, all right? So there he is. And then he puts on his first layer of undergarment, and he puts it in. Now, this is the principle. Yahweh is completely, how do I get too deep? He takes his whole self, all right? He's dressing himself. He takes himself. He puts it in his first garment. So he takes Keter and he puts it inside Hokmah, all right? All of Keter is in Hokmah. This is what is called the first vessel going into this vessel. But all the power, you have to understand, with everything there is power. There is the essence. There is the absolute. There's another word, power. All right, going into this garment. All right, now this one is a little more concealed. You can't see that one. All right, initially. So this one, Hokmah, is going to be enclosed and encased. The next vehicle, the next container for it is Bina. It goes into there. All right. Now you can't see the others. Technically, they're inside. We're beginning to clothe ourselves. Yahweh is clothing himself. All right. He's still ultimately deep inside, but now there's outer garments. So you start with your undergarments, and he puts on his, maybe an undershirt, and then he puts pants on, and then you put a sash, and actually, okay, so then the next one goes into Hesed, and then Hesed goes into, actually all of them go into Zerapin, into Vav, the son, who is 6. Okay, so what, just to establish the principle, and this is the principle of garments. This is what, if you understand this motif, this is why the priests, all right, if anybody is watching today, something in Israel, the reenactments that are going on by the Temple Institute as they are ramping up, very prophetic, very exciting for the temple, again, the third temple, and you see these Kohanim priests dressed in white. They just did, for Pesach, they just did a ritual lamb, all right? But they always have their dress. So first of all, they have an undershirt, then they have pants, and then they have a sash, and they have a turban. And what that isn't arbitrary, and it's all white. It represents white linen. This is the point. They're garmenting, they're clothing themselves. What they're really representing is these are the priests. They are fully clothed with the 4 worlds. And we're going to get into this. I'm going to try to take every motif kind of one at a time. They are clothed now in the 4 worlds. They are fully functional as priests. They understand, they have ascended the different levels of Yahweh, and they are fully enclosed as his priests, all right? So this is not an accident. This is done deliberately to show, all right, how they are clothed, and in deeply spiritual, they are clothed with Sefiroth emanations, all right? So when we get, and so it always, when you put the higher Sefiroth goes into the next Sefiroth, which goes into the next one, and it's like as wine is put in a bottle. Something is always put into something else. And finally, what Yahweh does in the last Sefiroth, in this in Malkut, in the kingdom, in the world of Asiyah, in the physicality, everything, it's finally at a level where we can now, this is the first only place now that we can see Yahweh. He has so clothed himself that we can approach him. And that's why people love to meditate on Elohim in nature, because he's so clothed, but we can relate to, we're not going to get burnt up. All right. There's Moshe and the burning bush, right? He didn't get burnt up. He was able to come close, but not be burned up. But for most people, it's in the world of Asiyah, the world of physicality. This is where we all are finally clothed. We're all clothed at this point with this physicality. All right. Now, so when other ways that this is referred to, because this word garments, we're going to go deep into it. But when Elijah, okay, the story of Elijah and Elisha, right? And Elisha wanted to get Elijah's mantle. You wonder, well, can I, what he's really saying in the deeper spiritual level, and he ended up getting a double portion, is these are levels also. This is about of anointing, of understanding, of wisdom, of how high up in your kind of you are in the world, the four worlds, and have you attained, let's say, all the way up to the world of Berea, a soul that is totally, is very, very, you got three, you're up at about 3 levels of enclothement, all right, of understanding. Okay, so I hope it's sort of making sense. In a deep, that's what it means. So to a mantle, a covering, this is the kind of the thing of the prayer shawl. You put it over you. You're being completely covered in the whole, world, set kind of the Sephirothic, the tree of life world of Yahweh. All right, because these are also referred to as, there's a lot of words, and one where I'm focusing on garment, okay, but they're also chariots is another way that this is is, like I said, the Merkaba mysticism in Ezekiel, and Ezekiel sees these 4 wheels, and he calls them chariots. It's really the word galgal, which is the word wheel in Hebrew, but it means cycle. It means something that's going around and around. This is why the idea of the Mashiach, it's movement it's going around, it's a cycle. But it's what it is it's the wave, it's the energy, it is the power, it is the force. He's being shown how. So I'm equating garments and I'm equating chariots. That's why they use that, because chariots, and the idea of a wave of energy that moves. All right, it moves, and it moves fast, and it moves in a cycle. All right, so this is what he's seeing. If you were ever to be in the throne room of Elohim, get some of these visions like Isaiah, and you begin to see how the heavens, in the sense they're huge, they're just unbelievable, primordial forces, movements, energies, waves. I mean, when it says that the heavens declares the word, from speech, from being the sound waves, the sound. I mean, it's so huge. Okay, so when I get into the science, which I'm explaining it, I'm dealing more with sort of the anthropomorphic kind of motifs. But as we get into the science, you'll see this is what science is really. This is the way the universe is wired. They are powerful cycles, wheels, movements, energies, things that are going on in worlds all the way down to the subatomic. So you can't, we might see wind moving around here in physicality, but beneath that, inside the wind, are just even deeper, powerful Sephirothic, and then deeper inside of those, and deeper inside of those. That's why Yahweh says the kingdom of heaven. Kingdom is a key word for Malkut. The level of physicality is inside us, referring to our nefesh soul, our starting point. But from there, we can climb. Jacob's ladder, you can climb. You don't have to stay in the lowest level, just with, all right? There's so many, another analogy, let me say this, like, okay, so it's the same thing. When you go into, if you're a fireman and you're going into a fire, right? I mean, think of all the clothing those guys put on, all the protective layers, because you just don't run naked into a fire, because you would totally burn up, right? So we just don't run into Yahweh's presence, so to speak. We are clothed. We're clothed right now in physicality. Our soul is inside our body. And then your soul, you'll find out, like when I get into the 5 levels of the soul, and 4 are clothed, one inside the other, one inside the other. Okay, so these are all, what I do love when you begin to get this, it's very linear, it's very organized. The mind of the prophet, the understanding, is very linear and organized. All right, so we want to, the flip side is, there are times, this is the point, this is where Yahweh, who is it, he can do whatever he wants, he has the power. This is the story of Enoch and his translation. This is the story looking at it like the flip side, all right? You don't just go into Yahweh's presence, right, without being clothed, without tons and tons of protective layers on, like a fireman would. But the flip side is, if you are in the fiery furnace, so to speak, right, and not of your own doing, so to speak, Yahweh, this is why it said that when Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego got thrown into the fiery furnace, many levels of understanding here, but in one sense it says that the angel of Adonai, the angel of the Lord, walked with them, covered them. So they were not burnt up, even though they didn't have so let's just say they were thrown into the fiery furnace and they didn't have the protective coverings on. I mean, that literally was a literal thing, was going to burn them up. Yahweh preserved them by he became and was their covering. All right, to the point where when they came out, there wasn't even a hint of smoke on them, and not one of their hairs was singed. I mean, that's how powerful. When Moshe came before the burning bush, that's how powerful. Actually, that is an account of what level he was at. He was able to discourse literally, even in the beginning, with Yahweh and not be burnt by the bush. So there's so many levels, polysemous, many applications, but we're going to stick with garments, like I said. Now, let me read this. This is a quote. This is from Simon ben Yochai. He is one of the writers of the Zohar. I'm pretty sure about that. I got to get my rabbi straight. But he says, "Woe unto the man who asserts that Torah intends to relate only commonplace things and secular narratives." I think I read a portion of this in the first one, but we're going to go on. This is more of the fuller rendition of what he was saying. He said, if that were the case, then why didn't they write Torah with better and more attractive narratives? Seriously, I mean, there's so much missing from our storylines in our Bibles. I mean, if that's all they wanted to do was to tell us these quote unquote literal level stories, they could have done a better job, right? But in truth, however, the matter is this. He goes, the upper world and the lower world are established upon one and the same principle. And this is the point. Once you get a motif, the upper motif, you can apply it. In the lower world is Israel. All right, now Israel is a code word, again, on many levels, but on one level, Israel represents the souls. And let me just say this, it's always usually more about the soul, because Yahweh Yeshua came to save our soul. All right, he is going to redeem the body. We're going to get, but ultimately, it has always been our soul life that is compromised. All right, and because of that, we have fallen into this realm of physicality, of decay and death, and recycle, like what is the normal cycle of things that live in physicality. But we were created above that. We were created immortal, above that cycle of life and death. All right, but we fell into it. All right, it's very important to understand. And then our garments changed. All right, so Israel is the souls of all Israel. All right, and that's a very important code word. So the lower world, and especially in the world of Asiyah, the souls is, all right, in the lower world are souls, all right? And this also includes the world of Yetzirah, Asiyah and Yetzirah. In the upper world are angels, right? Now, what it is saying is, and you stick with me, you'll get to, and I have YouTube's on this if you listen to me, on the four worlds. You go Asiyah, Yetzirah, Beria, okay? But in the upper world are angels. Angels live in this domain called Yetzirah, for the most part, and they have a certain garment or clothing on them, right? This is why, and this is important, because a lot of times when they're talking about this clothing, they're talking about what state or essence of being you would be, depending on what world you were in, right? Things down here in physicality are dense. You see, things in the next Easter are more ethereal. All right, that's why, we're going to be clothed again with immortality. We're going to be clothed at a higher Sephirothic level. Our vibration, some of these is going to be way higher, all right, than what it is now. Let me try to get through this. In the lower world is Israel, in the souls. In the upper world are angels, all right? In other words, so what's on earth and what's in the heavens. Angels we know are in heaven, right? We're down here on earth. We know this, okay? if this is true of the angels, okay, when the angels wish to descend to the lower world, see, this explains a lot of the storyline and a lot of the apocalypse is, all right? When angels wish to descend to the lower world, they have to don or put on earthly garments, all right? And this is the whole story. See, the story of Azazel and the fallen angels and how they lost their first estate. They lost the garments that they had, the ability to stay at that quote unquote vibrational level. And they when they came down, they weren't allowed back up. So they had to stay down here in this level of physicality. That's part of the story. But earthly garments also refers to what we have the first level of soul life, which is our nephesh soul life, all right? If this be true of the angels having to don earthly garments when they come to lower levels, that's why an angel, whenever it appeared to somebody in the Bible, it looked like a person. It had donned, sort of put on the garment, the kind of whatever you have, he was kind of at the vibrational level, even if it's a hologram. Think about it, he was at the vibrations who would make him look solid, look like a human, and he could even partake in some of the earthly things people do to eat and these different things, all right? If this be true of angels, how much more so of the Torah? Now, Torah is referring here for whose sake indeed the world and the angels were alike created and exist. The world simply could not have endured to look upon it. Now, the Torah here is using a word of like the Sefiroth, all right? We know, if you know, enough is a Tiferet, let's say that's, Yod He Vav He, the sun, the Vav, in Tiferet is like sort of the Torah. It's another kind of code word for it. It's eternal, the Torah that's written in heaven. These are so already we have different levels of garments, different levels of enclothement, but ultimately the Sefirithic, which is the Torah, which is the eternal word of Elohim, the Vav, Yad He, the Vav, the seven Sefiroth. This is Torah, eternal Torah, because we know in one sense, all right? Now, the narratives of Torah are its garments, and again, they're clothed in different levels. This is another way of saying parts, right? I'm trying to say there's different levels. Torah has different garments it puts on. Most people, this is my thing, we live at a time, get out of your the lowest level garment clothing of the literal, let's put on other clothing. Let's get the Ramesh, let's take the hint, okay? Let's get down to, and if you take the hint, and if you're living in the Drash level, and you're living according to the halakha, the law, then you can get into the sod. You finally put on the deepest garment, the deepest level of enclothement, or the highest, let's say. Deep and high are kind of synonymous. They're inside, but while they're inside, they're greater, they're higher, they're okay. He who thinks that these garments are the Torah itself deserves to perish and have no shame in the world to come. In other words, it's not just the books. I mean, this is like what they say against evangelical Christianity in the sense of they worship literally the books. They don't really understand what's in the books. They don't have any interest in getting down to the soul level and figuring out. They just, so that when they get to heaven, they're going to find out that there's not going to be a bunch of books on the throne, all right? There's going to be Torah, the living essence, all right? Yeah, which is Vav, Yad He Vav He is up there, all right? So deserves to perish and have no share in the world to come. So woe to the fools who look no further when they see an elegant robe, all right? More valuable than the garment is the body, all right? So again, we're talking differently. So the clothing that I would have on that keeps me separate from, or keeps Yahweh and me kind of at enough of at a distance, so we don't, I don't make him unholy by taking my unholy butt into his domain, so to speak, right? And he can't come into mine totally unclothed because he'd blow me up, right? So, I mean, this is how these words are all used to try to make relationship between these deep theological concepts. So, fools see only the garment, so you only see the book, and most people are just, at this point, kind of brainwashed that the only garment is these 66 books. I mean, and they worship these 66 books, and they don't even want to take the hints that are in the books. I mean, it's all very, we won't go into there. Fools only see the garment of Torah. Now, the more intelligent see the body. The body would refer to the tree of life. There is can understand this whole concept of the Sefiroth. All right, the body is the written Torah in the sense that the written Torah, but it's much bigger than the 66 books. There's a lot of writings. They understand the wisdom and the understanding that is in this written Torah. They've begun to read it, digest it. They get the body of the text, all right? But the wise, see, and this is my point, the elect, the wise, if you're in this class, trust me, you are really being initiated into this level of the wise, all right? But the wise see the soul, which is in here, in this analogy, you're talking about, you really see the Sefiroth, the proper, deepest spiritual level of understanding, all right? Because the body in this sense refers to the written Torah. The wise who see the soul, this is another kind of way they define this, refers to the higher garments or the upper garments, which is the oral Torah. When they say the oral Torah, which is the Kabbalah, is the soul of Torah. So like I tell you, once you get it's a consistent theme. The sages, the prophets are always consistent in this. They understand this. So as they go forward and use language, whether you read it in the Talmud, whether you read it in your Bible text, whether you read it in the Kabbalistic literature, if you have the correct motif and archetype, you can zoom in and out with them and you can understand, all right? Now, let me just give some examples. So how Yahweh, very famous Psalm 104, verse 1 and 2, all right? Says, my soul, I would say, my soul, all right? My enclothement down here, believe me, there is nothing, my enclothement in a soul, even in my, adding together my ruach, my nefesh, my ruach, my neshama, okay, is nothing, okay, I am just one little container, here, we're each tabernacle, we're a container, we're a vessel, over and over again, and Yahweh has put himself inside my vessel now, through the Ruach HaKodesh, which is, all right, I'm not the whole thing. I'm just I'm like one little cell. This is the point. I'm one little cell in this whole large Sefiroth. I'm one little soul in this larger Sefiroth Adam Caveman body. So you always kind of got to keep everything straight and everything separate when it's separate in understanding, but joined together in unity when it is. Because, again, it's fundamentally, it's all going to explain why over and over. Shema Israel, hear, O Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You never break up the unity of the Sefiroth, okay? But you can minutely break it apart and study each individual kind of aspect or attribute or character, how this whole huge understanding relates to each other, all right? So it's like a hologram. One thing they've learned about a hologram, that wherever you're looking at it, so depending if you're on the outside, you're looking in, and you always see something different, okay? Because you're looking at it, however the light and the angle and the speed, that's what you're seeing. But if you were to isolate that little window you're seeing and look at that, you would find out that inside that contains the whole. So it's an incredible relationship. The whole is always in the particle, and the particle always contains the whole. They mirror each other. So amazing system. So in Psalm 104, bless my soul, bless Yahweh. All right, and it's Yahweh. It's Yahweh, Vav-He, that's why the Tetragrammaton is the fundamental name of Elohim, because it's immediately the whole tree of life, soup to nuts. From Keter, includes Ensof, because when you understand how they coded in the letters and all this kind of stuff, all the way down to Malkut. All right, Yahweh, Vav-He, my Yahweh, Vav-He Elohim, okay? This is the God of Israel. Let's make it. Yahweh Vav-He is the God, the King of Lord, but he's also mine. There's a personal relationship, and he also is the higher high God, high Elohim. Okay, so if you look at this, Yahweh my Elohim, you are clothed with, and if you research these words in the Hebrew, and we will get there, it says with you clothed with majesty and strength. I mean, there's a lot of different, but in the Hebrew, what it is, it's two of the Sefiroth. You are clothed with Hod and Gabora, all right, Gavera. Okay, and they're both on the left side. These are two Sefiroth. It's referring to, you are clothed with Hod and Gavera, which is an absolutely accurate statement as what we are saying. And it goes on to say, you cover, okay, and the word clothes, this is the whole point. So he's making a total reference to the Sephirothic enclothement that is going on, all right? Because it's the word 3847 in your Strongs, and it means to put on, to wear, to clothe, to be clothed. So the garments, all right? Yahweh Vavhe is clothed, is engarmented with Hod and Gibora, all right? Two of the Sephirot, all right? So then it goes on to say, you, Yahweh, Yahweh Vavhe, cover yourself. It's you wrap, you enfold yourself with light, all right? As with a garment. So as you see these verses, we are way up in a Sephirothic realm. We are just Yahweh, his whole splendor, his glory, his might, his strength. He is clothed in all of the Sephiroth. It is a unity, but again, you can take it apart, like, he wears many hats. So if you want to look at his hesed, his loving mercy, his tender kindness, or his judgment, or his justice, Netzach is prophecy a lot of times. No, what we're doing, Hod, which is his authority, all right, a glory, splendor. So a lot of times, I mean, if I was to read, I would just forget all these other adjectives and just plug in the Sephirothic name so that you could kind of really begin to understand where we are. And when I begin the Sephirot, I'll start again with unpacking. They're all together listed, really all 10, in 1 Chronicles 29:11. All right, which is one of the fundamental verses for all of this. All right, so the point is this concept of covering and clothing. All right, Sephirithically, how Yahweh starts, in this is the point where they talk with Chokmah. I mean, it's the point. It is the absolute everything. He is so tightly condensed everything, and he puts it in, it goes into the next, into Chokmah, and Chokmah, is the point, and then it goes into Bina. And then you get it, and see, so all these relationships, one flows totally into the other. And as you come down, every Sephirot contains all of the ones above it. Perfect package, always unity. So you get down to Malkut. Malkut is referred to, as the kingdom, physicality, Asiyah, but also this is Shekinah. This is where, and when we get into understanding the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, this whole concept, Shekinah she's the woman, she's the widow who has left her husband, who is sort of, and she's with us, right? There's not only, we're not like down here in physicality alone, okay? Shekinah is with us, all right? Our heavenly mother, in a lot of senses, what they're doing, is with us, all right? And she is known as, and I think like in the Brazen Sea, all the Sephiroth pour into her. So as she is with us, and everything from above is with her, is in her, so are we when we are in her, all right? Now, this is where I want to jump off now, because that is the largest picture of the beautiful and holy of the Sephiroth, all right? One clothing with the next. But when we get down to garments, there's so many verses that are used, and then sometimes like, okay, where do they all of a sudden go with this one? And I did explain, like Elijah, a lot of anointing, like Yeshua, this is when with the word anointing, I'll get into it, comes from some of the highest, like fully clothed, all right? He was full of wisdom and understanding, Yeshua. So he was anointed oil. He was full of, from his head on down, with the highest level of Sephirothic reality, blessing. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to end. I'm going to be right back because we're going to pick this up, and I'm going to give some more verses. Now we're going to bring kinds of garment a little closer down to home here and how it's used in the text. See you shortly.